Stoke. Motivation is what we call that. Pick against them, motivate them, and watch them get a big W, man. What a game last night. That was so much fun.
Yeah, that was great. It really was.
He's got a little situation going on, Stink. So I'll let him finish up his.
I mean, I thought Stink would come on and talk for a little bit longer than 10 seconds on the opener. So I took a bite of bagel. I mean, Mark, to your point, though, I think the one thing I want to get from you is I'm pumping up MPJ today because the bar is so low for him right now that when he goes out and he makes 2 3-pointers, I'm ready to throw him a parade. And you know, so because it was something. He got 10 points. It wasn't 2 or 3 points. So at least we saw some contribution there. And then my guy, Strawther, they put him in there. They kept him in there, and he certainly delivered.
You got to have – I don't know what your signature moment or your kind of welcome to the NFL moment was for you, Stoke. For me, my rookie year, the first game I ever played in was against the Philadelphia Eagles, the number 1 defense in football in the Vet in Philadelphia. And, man, I'm a little 10th rounder out of Idaho, not supposed to even make it. Every guy on their defensive line is a first-round draft choice. And I'm playing against this guy by the name of Mike Pitts, and I am kicking his ass. I'm kicking his ass. And so he throws a punch, and then I try to break his jaw. I hit him right in the jaw, right up underneath his face mask. And my whole process was like, you're not going to punk me. Like, I may not be good enough, but you're not punking me, right? Like, coming from a small school. And we had a signature moment. We had a big boy pants moment for both David Adelman, who played MPJ 0 minutes in the fourth quarter yesterday, and let Watson take over. He let Strawther take over. Strawther had 10 points, and a huge moment for Strawther. Gets his big-time opportunity and comes through with just unbelievable performance. 10 points in the fourth quarter, 15 overall in 19 minutes of play. And for Adelman to just say, hey, man, like, you don't play defense, MPJ. You knocked down a couple of 3-pointers. Good for you. You know, you got 10 points. Go ahead and sit on the bench. Sit this one out because I'm going with younger guys that provide me more energy and better defense. And Watson had a couple of defensive plays that were awesome. Dude, that was awesome to watch. That was 2 signature moments for the Denver Nuggets, the head coach and Strawther.
No, certainly a big-time game. Had to have it, and a lot of guys stepped up. We haven't even talked about Jamal Murray playing, sick. So you need contributions from the bench. And who was it going to be? Russell Westbrook, is the wild card here. You don't know what you're ever going to get from him. But one of those other guys needed to step up and score the basketball, especially with Michael Porter Jr. being so bad offensively. And Strawther was that guy, obviously, yesterday. 3 for 4 from the three-point line. Was huge. They got to find some scoring besides Jamal, besides Jokic, and Strawther was big. And they're gonna need that type of performance from someone on Sunday if they're gonna try to win that Game 7 in OKC.
All right, a couple of points here. First of all, I like that Stink is kind of on my side, and we're not treating MPJ with these kid gloves. Like, oh, he had 10 points. Let's throw a parade. I mean, the guy's making $35 million this year. He's on a $200 million contract. He's a max player. He almost gets the Bronx cheer from Ball Arena last night when that first 3 goes down. There's such a hope. We're all rooting for Timmy to get his first base hit of the season. Like, Mark, just because MPJ had 10 points last night doesn't mean we're letting him off the hook. If the Nuggets lose this series, no pun intended, but to me it's still kind of squarely on his shoulders for not showing up in pivotal games 4 and 5 that you could have won, because quite frankly this series could already be over.
Yeah, it should be over. You should have won both games 4 and games 5. And obviously you won game 6, and now it goes back to OKC. But the thing that you proved to me, that if you do have that fourth quarter production, if you do have a couple of guys that can come off the bench and play well, and usually your role players or your bench players play better at home than they do on the road. But you proved to me you had a 9-point, I think it was a 9-point lead in game 5 going into the fourth quarter. Like you've had leads in the fourth quarter and you choked them up simply because you have not had production. And the fact that you're willing to move off of MPJ in the fourth quarter and say, "Hey, we're giving an opportunity to somebody else," and that somebody else stood up. That's a great thing, and they're going to need, whether it's Strawther, whether it's Peyton Watson, like whoever it is, they're going to need somebody to step up in OKC in Game 7 in the fourth quarter and do a similar thing, because Jokic is going to show up, and I mean, that's the one thing you can count on. You just got to somebody else playing well in that fourth quarter, and I was just really encouraged after watching what went down last night.
Yeah, that was huge. I mean, especially after blowing the 2 leads that you blew in games 4 and 5, to be able to have the lead late and now close it out shows what this team's all about, and the types of guys they have on this team. So, Aaron Gordon news. Mark saw him grab his hamstring. What's his availability going to be Sunday? Obviously, that's big news here moving forward and looking ahead to Game 7. If he's not able to play, what does the bench look like? I mean, who's going to take his place? You're probably going to have Peyton Watson in the lineup, in the starting lineup. But, now is it just a 7-man rotation? Is it is somebody that hasn't been playing? Will Adelman give one of those guys a chance? It's unfortunate that you're going into a Game 7 with one of your best players and maybe your best all-around player besides Jokic, and he's going to be questionable with a hamstring injury.
Yeah, Stoke, I wish we could reach out to Mike. Maybe I'll text him and see if he thinks maybe he should just rest the starters and play a lot more backups.
Oh, my
in Game
gosh,
7.
that's right.
Yeah.
Mikey don't like
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he'd be really healthy for the offseason.
Right. So I'm thinking that might be the way to go there. I'm just not sure.
Well, Mike's at the Broadmoor this morning because he got his dates all flipped around. I love this guy. I mean, his son's graduating high school at Red Rocks, but Mike drove to Red Rocks on Tuesday, and now he's down at the Broadmoor today, and they're going, "Yeah, sir, you don't have a tea time."
Got his days mixed up.
Stink. It sounds like, and we had a texter suggest this, and Stoke and I dove into this. Did the Nuggets win that game last night with Michael Malone? Because what would Malone have done? He was such a regimented, routine guy that he would have gone back to MPJ, and you called it. He didn't play in the fourth. He rode the hot hand. He rode Julian Strawther, who had the game of his life. Like, was that the first game that it goes, Josh Kroenke sitting there going, this is why I made that change, because the new guy has a better feel for the basketball game than the old guy, and maybe they do blow it if stubborn Malone goes back to Michael Porter Jr.?
Well, it for the last couple of games, because they should have won. They should have won Game 4, Game 5, and Game 6. But ultimately, I don't think Adelman was desperate yet, and last night he was desperate. And last night he made a decision. And like I said, you want to talk about that signature moment, that put on your big boy pants moment, because I think the easiest thing to do would be go back to what's familiar. Like, change is one of the hardest things you have. Like, change is imperative. Like, we all have to experience some change. We all have to work on change. We all have to do those things. But it's really, really hard. It's scary. And, ultimately you can get criticized for doing it if it doesn't work out. And it takes onions. It takes cojones. It takes yarbles. It takes balls to make that decision. And I credit Adelman for saying, you know what, this is the direction I'm going. And I love it, man. And it was a huge, and I don't know, whether Michael Malone does it or not, I have no idea. I mean, based on past history, probably not. But that was a big-time coaching decision that won them that basketball game.
Yeah, I mean, it's right there in front of you. I mean, if you can't see it and you can't see the struggles and you're going to ignore the struggles, then what are we doing here? Would Michael Malone have ignored them or not, or embraced them like Adelman did? I don't know. But, his history tells you that, you know what, he might have kept rolling with the same guys, and he might have left MPJ in there. He might have, if not, he might have put Westbrook in there a little bit more. So would Strawther have gotten opportunities that he got there in the second half? Probably not if it was Michael Malone. But if you're watching that film as a coach, these guys are watching the film, and and you're watching Michael Porter Jr. play basketball in this series, and you're not open and receptive into getting him out of the lineup and putting him on the bench, then you don't deserve to be a head coach, because that's as bad as it gets watching him play in this series. And he's dealing with an injury, but it doesn't matter. You can't just keep rolling this guy out there when you're doing your team a disservice, and you're doing the fans a disservice. So, yeah, I think it was nice to see that at least he was open and receptive to what he was watching out there last night.
And I got to tell you, Stoke, you've been all over this. You and I have both talked about this, like making a change and having, the courage to make that change regardless of what the outcome is. And the fact that you and I were both so frustrated with Michael Porter Jr. and, it's like you pay him to knock down shots. Well, we know that he's a liability on the defensive side of the court. And then he doesn't knock down shots. Like why is he out there, right? Like, hey, he can't knock down shots, but at least he doesn't play defense. Like, no. Like, at some point you got to make a change, and you've been talking about it for a while, Stoke. Like, hey, you've got to make this change. They did it last night. Takes a little bit of courage to do that, right, to make that change. And, boy, it worked out in a just an amazing fashion.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what it looks like on Sunday, right? I mean, I'm expecting Michael Porter Jr. to be a starter, be back in the lineup, and I guess it's one of those things where if you're playing well, you stay in, but if not, it's just like a Game 7 in baseball, Mark, where you're not that starter. Hey, he gives up a run early, he might get the quick hook there. So I don't think Michael Porter Jr. is going to be out there. You're going to continue to roll him out there. If his shot's off early, you're going to have the quick hook and then see what you got with Strawther. But I don't think it's one of those games where we see a lot of Michael Porter Jr. if he's not playing well.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. The other thing is I love this because it just reminds me of football, and you don't get a free pass. Like, hey, Stoke, if you drop a couple of balls, you know what? Peyton Manning's not throwing anymore to you. Like, it's just he's done, right? You miss a couple of blocks, you get benched. Like I love that aspect of it. So, hey, man, play good.